Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the, I have to think which month, May Arts and Culture Commission. I almost said March. That would have been super embarrassing. First and foremost, let's take a look at the agenda and minutes. Is there any changes or anything that anyone has seen or would like to make?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay,
A second?
perfect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I apologize, I should have mentioned that we do have one commissioner member, Ann is on the phone as well. So I don't know if we heard Ann's vote. Can we move on even if we don't have it? Okay. All right. Excuse me. I think, is there any public comment or any items that we want to open the floor to? Nope. Okay, moving along. All right, so the next thing on the, I've got to approve the prior minutes. Sorry about that. Any comments on the prior minutes? Okay, motion for approval?
Move to approve?
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, same side? All right, there we go. Okay, moving on. Let's start with the review of the public art project recommendations.
Good evening, commissioners, and we believe we're excited about this phase of the project that we've kicked off. It's been a couple years since we've done a public art call, and so we're really excited with this year's report to bring to you tonight. First off, thank you also for your patience in as we got the packet to you out late yesterday, and we're more than glad to walk through any level of detail that you would like to walk through or to your comfort level. I know it's a lot of information, without a whole lot of time to prepare in advance. But myself, Rachel Asleson with Reach Partners is here. We obviously have our chair of our committee, Joe, is here. Be glad to answer any questions as we move forward. So first of all, we tried a new in our call for public arts, where we did hire Reach Partners to help us with the logistics. And it took quite a bit of planning to kind of get really update the RFP in robust nature with more clarity and the outreach. And we kind of jokingly told ourselves that we knew success. Our measure of success was if we had double the applications. And I would say we did. We had usually about 8 to 9 applications, and we got 18 applications. And so we're really excited about that. And from a lot of new partners and artists out there that have not applied before. So we're excited about that as well. As part of the selection committee, Rachel and Anita with Reach Partners ran basically a 3-meeting process where they gathered. First of all, we had a selection committee, and that selection committee meeting had about a total of maybe Rachel. Let me invite Rachel to the.
You got it.
And we had members of our selection committee included artists, administrators, and I think one community member at large, but everybody was in the arts field of some sort. And maybe, Rachel, did you want to say any more about the selection committee process?
So the selection committee process, as far as the folks that were invited to participate, was gleaned from a list of people that the ACC commissioners have assembled over the course of the past years. An email invitation went out to them through city staff, and then Reach Partners then followed up with the rest of that communication. We did have 6 people, I got to count to 6 people that participated, including Joe. And again, as Nicole had said, people that are part of the arts community and one member at large, but also involved or as a patron, or as a consumer of the arts as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and so as part of what's in your packet tonight is a summary of recommendations on applications to fund fully. There is one application, Skyway Mosaic, that we're still suggesting to fund, but they have more of a conditional approval process because there's some permitting involved and some logistics. It's a little bit more of a complicated project, whereas the other ones are really need very little involvement from, I would say, a project management component from a city perspective. And then there's a few applications that were new this year. A couple themes from the selection committee process that showed up is new to us was commercial applicants, commercial people that have a business that were applying on behalf of their business, or which we thought was exciting. Just was a little unique because is it public realm, is it not? And so it kind of crossed that barrier of discussion. Epic Art Group is one of those where they're proposing basically to open up and have art shows in vacant spaces, which is a really cool idea. And so for some of them, what we're telling all of the folks is we would like to continue to work with them and talk to them about that and figure out how we can make some of their visions into reality. And so maybe it's not this avenue, but maybe it's a different avenue as we work towards our public art programming. There is probably, 8 or so that we're saying not to be funded at this time for various reasons. And in your packet materials, we have a really pretty straightforward scorecard with review comments that went to each of the applicants along with a letter from the city. And so basically the scorecards are a summary of all of the comments through that selection committee process. And I'd be glad to talk about any of these in more detail. We do have Sean Kaufman with us from the North Dakota Human Rights Film Festival. We let the applicants know the next steps include coming here for bringing this recommendation forward to you. And then the next step would be City Commission, most likely on the consent agenda of City Commission, that we would have what we call recipient agreements between the City of Fargo and those that are receiving the funds, with timelines and expectations about those. The other thing that's kind of unique this year is, again, thanks to the grant from the Kresge Foundation that we're in our final stages of, is we like to continue to retain Reach partners to help us engage with the artists as they do their work. We believe there's a lot of communication opportunities and marketing and advertising, all sorts of things. And so offering that project management support, either on behalf of the artists and their project team, or on the city and our communications team, looking for opportunities for good film footage, news articles, things like that. And so each of those projects are going to have a different path for that and understanding of what that looks like, but really kind of learn from that process as well. So do you have any questions? Or I'd be glad to walk through any of the applications, explain them in more detail. Yeah, it's pretty informal tonight.
You bet. Any questions, guys?
I just have first I want to thank the committee for the work here, and it looks like a pretty impressive group. I have a logistical question about the recommendation for approval here. Full disclosure, I'm running with Anna Johnson for City Commission, so I just want to make sure that's not a conflict of interest for me, sincerely. I certainly support the recommendations, but I just want to make sure that's not a problem, that there's any influence, because we're in a different, realm of reality right now.
No, I think sincerely we would maybe.
That's what I'm looking over that way, right?
Thank you for that question. I'm not sure that I can say specifically whether it is or isn't a conflict. It kind of depends on if there is any influence that would be asserted in any way. And from what I'm hearing, no. I mean, you are running parallel, there isn't
Right.
anything that you could do
Absolutely.
for her or her for you. So at this point, I don't see anything that would be
Okay, thank you,
identified as a conflict.
thank you.
Yeah, and I think typically what we've done where someone might have had, and Nancy can correct me, but someone might feel like they have an appearance of conflict or just want to bring that out, just like you did, Commissioner, make that announcement, and then the rest of the board can vote on whether or not you, or comment whether or not they feel like you should vote or not vote. And so that's kind of a nice way to kind of clear that
Thank you.
space.
Yeah, I'm certainly comfortable with you voting
Yeah,
as we move
thank
forward.
you.
I would too. I mean, you're competing for a different seat. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
not directly benefiting from this particular project.
I appreciate that.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments?
I do have one comment for the North Dakota Human Rights Film and Arts Festival. I work at the Plains Art Museum, and in the past we have held a space for the festival to show the artwork and have discussions there. So I just want to put that out there that I do work for the Plains. I don't think we financially benefit from the festival, but we are sort of within the peripheral view of that programming if they want to partner with us in the future. So I don't know if that's a conflict of interest as well, but I do want to state that for the public record.
Sounds like we should be fine with that as well.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So
This is Anne. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
So I, like Joe, also work for the Plains Art Museum. I work in a part-time capacity and don't have direct connection with the film festival that Sean helps with. So just stating that for the public record. I want to thank Joe and the selection committee members for their work. I know there were many hours involved, and also express gratitude to everyone who submitted. It takes time to put together an application, and obviously not all applications can be funded at this point. I also just want to say I'm really struggling with receiving the materials less than 24 hours before this meeting. I did my best to review them starting at about 9:30 last night. I would ask moving forward that more effort be made to provide materials at least 5 days ahead of a meeting or some amount that's reasonable. 131 pages, whether I'm expected to skim them only, it isn't sufficient. So I am putting a lot of trust and faith in the work that has already been done leading up to this, but was definitely disappointed to receive materials at such a late hour. And I just want to go on the record saying that, and I don't think it's in the best practice for any professional activities, whether we're volunteers or not. So I just want that stated, and I would appreciate if moving forward we could have some sort of, more structure related to timelines for receiving materials, given that this has all been in process for a couple of months, and this meeting date today was known. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Certainly, I think we all appreciate the quantity of information that was provided to us at a late hour. I probably can speak on behalf of everyone that I did not get through every single page of it. I skimmed quite quickly. But I do want to give the city staff a little grace as well, just knowing the workload and capacity and the amount of staff members that you have to compile and do all of this work. So I think there's a little leeway both ways that we just need to be cognizant of.
No, and I certainly recognize, thank you, Tracy and Ann. I certainly recognize the bind that is. It is hopefully not a pattern and a pretty unique circumstance. One of the practice that we've started this is certainly not an excuse, but I just wanted to kind of, we had another board that met yesterday, kind of similar in nature. And one of the things that we're starting to try to do is beef up our records. So our official records are this packet. And then the official records, this packet then goes on to City Commission. And so the idea is, besides yourselves, any members of the public would have easy access to, I want to know more about what was submitted. I want to know what the application looked like. I want to know what people are asking for as a budget. So that all, by us submitting this, becomes public record. In terms of those details, I don't know if any of us want to talk about exactly the specific details of the applications themselves. I honestly can't tell you what's all in the packet either, other than I read the applications very quickly and then handed it off to the steering committee. And so one of the, again, not necessarily an excuse, but just want to explain the aspect of resource materials or reference materials. I think one of the couple of highlights as well from the selection process is one of the things we really appreciated that you'll see in the scorecards is comments, by the selection committee advising the applicants maybe where they might be considering themselves not funding themselves enough. And so monetary pay or self-pay was commented on. And so in terms of process, basically we shipped the applications off to to Reach Partners and the selection committee. They came back with some technical review questions. Staff edited those questions, or reviewed those questions, I should say, for technical feedback. So as we go into the individual projects, we will actually sit down with each of those artists and art groups and look at their budget in more detail, help them make sure they feel fully funded, and all of those things. So that's another reason why you don't see dollar amounts in here. And we have the unique benefit this year of last year's funds that didn't get fully spent, this year's funds, and the Kresge Foundation dollars. And so between those funds, again, this is kind of a new way of thinking. We don't have the barrier of funding per se. It's more about, is this appropriate for taxpayer dollars? And so we're excited about that nature. And you'll see more technical review as we get into the day-to-day project management with each of these art groups and projects. And we'll report to you. We looked forward to working with the various committees on whether it's communication, neighborhood outreach, or capacity, how we can continue to learn from this process and build into next year's process.
Fantastic. I think the only question I was going to have is the timing for the different events, just making sure we all understand those dates, especially for, the Arts Festival and things like that, that we're well aware and can make sure we get those on our calendars.
Absolutely. And that would be part of our intensive communication outreach to make sure we don't miss an opportunity for the city of Fargo to celebrate what the Arts and Culture Commission has done and is doing. I think we've, kind of missed those opportunities in the past, just moving in 100 million different directions. And whether it's ribbon cutting, with a display of a mural, or those types of support for the artists or the artist teams would be our goal for hopefully using the Reach Partners and Greg Schilberger's team as an asset.
When do we anticipate the next round? Are you going to do this twice a year, once a year?
At this point, once a year, because of the other projects we have planned. One of my visions as a wake-up, kind of a vision, if you will, I think I might have shared this with Tracy and Joe, is I had an aha moment one day midway through the process. And, when we talk about a public art department or a public art division or what this could look like, and the public art master plan talks about that as well. And interestingly enough, we knew of a handful of folks that had been looking forward to this application and, had come to the city looking for funds or sharing ideas. And we said, stay tuned for this application process. And for whatever reason, they did not apply, and various reasons. But if we think about how we run our development processes, like zoning and permitting and things like that, you have a team of 8 people just in the planning department, much less all the other departments, being there ready to receive permits, right? That's what we do. You show up with a permit and you expect a process. And so wouldn't that be cool if we could roll, public art permits or applications or review and that's technical aspect on a rotating way where it's not about a deadline per se, it's more about a process that we can rotate through to validate it and do that regulation. So that was my aha moment at some point in the last 60, 90 days. And so then it started to make more sense on how the public art master plan and the funding requests that are in that chapter show up. So stay tuned on more to that. More to talk to you on your subcommittees about that idea. So
That's exciting.
yeah, so that's just one thought, random, because I think the city of Minneapolis is a little bit structured that way.
Well, thank you again to the entire selection committee and everybody who volunteered their time and effort. This is exciting after, a couple years of not getting done what we had wanted to and had hoped to. So it's exciting to finally feel like this is coming back together again. So fantastic job, guys.
If I can just extend thanks to Reach Partners for facilitating that experience. That was, it felt like it was a seamless experience going in there, having those discussions and then coming back for second meetings and just moving through that experience was really, really well done. So I just want to extend appreciation to Reach Partners for that. So thank you.
Thank you. So Nicole, the specific motion that should be on the floor should read that we just are looking to approve that we will provide and allocate the dollars for these, is it 7?
Yeah, so there's
art
3
projects?
recommendations on there.
Oh, sorry, there it is, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I should have printed the memos for you. There.
Perfect. All right, so does anyone want to make a recommendation for approval for public art funding of the following projects: the North Dakota Human Rights Film and Arts Festival, the Downtown Music Mural for Peggy Lee, Fargo Juneteenth, the Roger Maris Mural Project, the Midtown Mural featuring artist Anna Johnson, and then a recommendation of conditional approval to the City Council for public art funding of the Skyway Mosaic Project based on permitting processes and available funding. And the recommend approval to the City Commission for the Kresge Foundation funding of the Madison Unicorn Neighborhood Inside Out All Nations Community Celebration and Painted Playground at Madison Neighborhood Projects. That's a mouthful.
So moved or
Yeah, but somebody first and then somebody a second.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
There we go. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, moving on. Thank you again, everyone.
Yeah, and look forward to more updates on those projects individually. This is the most we've awarded in one swoop, and usually it's like 1 or 2. And so look forward to more information as, like dates or opportunities for involvement or just awareness as well.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda are updates on our subcommittee reports. Does someone from the capacity group want to, Joe?
Yeah, well, so we actually did meet this month. We've met, I think, all the other months leading up to this one. I apologize to the committee. I was having technical issues that day, and we just weren't able to link up. So there's really nothing new from this month, really moving forward. So.
No problem. Okay, next up is the neighborhood subcommittee.
What we have on tap is still the utility box wrap project in conjunction with the Fargo Public Schools. We had hoped to get at least 1 box wrap before school ended this year because the plan is to have a little celebration, ribbon cutting type of a thing. there's going to be a box on 32nd Avenue in front of the public library. It's going to be wrapped. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get that done this spring, so we'll be looking to do that next fall. The kids who participated are receiving their pieces are framed, and they're receiving those as an award, and we're hoping for some attention, I guess, and we would, like to, I really think like to continue working with the schools in some capacity, so this will be great.
Fantastic. Thank you guys too for all of the work that I know you've been putting into that. It seems like you've gotten some good momentum.
Yeah, we can point to staff on a lot of that too, though. They did a lot.
Of course,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep.
Development Committee, I guess I could kick it off, and I know the rest of our team is here. We did meet, in fact, just today. We're really kind of shifting focus from where we had been having some discussions into really looking more into understanding how we're communicating projects, past and present, projects that are underway, and just really getting out to the community what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and so forth, which, I mean, we've had this dialogue for a while, and now we want to really actually start to get some momentum behind that. And one of the things that we talked about, and we'll continue the conversation with staff, is to understand, we need to get some of the technical facts, like what have some of the projects cost? Who are all the people that were involved with them? Who are the artists? And get all of that technical information compiled. So that's kind of step one, is figuring out how we best work with staff to kind of get that download, if you will. The second piece that we talked about, and I believe Nicole was the one that brought it up a few weeks ago, is really having an open forum, kind of almost a town hall meeting, if you will, with the local artist community, so that we can really have a transparent listening session. We don't know what we don't know. We know that communication can always be better, but I think it just would, I say go over well, but I think it's just a really smart first step to just opening that dialogue wide open, and let's hear what we haven't heard or what we don't know, and really get off the ground on a really strong foot. Not to say that there isn't a lot of groundwork that already has happened, right, but to build upon that. Does anyone else from our group want to add anything to that?
I'm sorry, I was getting my microphone on. I will add that, in any good communication approach, you identify the audiences, and certainly the artist audience is one of our primary, and I think between the pandemic and just some, kind of stalled communication, not intentionally, just some realities of workloads, that there have been some misperceptions perhaps in the artist community that I think with factual information could be informed and would help, certainly the feedback with the transparent town hall would inform our approach and plan in how we engage the most important community along with, of course, our citizens, but we really are reliant on that audience. So I appreciate the approach as well.
Awesome.
I feel like as we start to roll out more projects, we'll have more to talk about.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think we were building the framework up until now, and now we're ready to kind of go live, as they say. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of buzz once these projects start to come out and actually become reality. So some of that will take care of itself a little bit, but yes, doing an intentional reach to the people that we want to partner with and lock arms with is very important too. So
Awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on to the staff report.
Find it a little easier to stand at the podium than sit in the chair. So, a couple updates since we've met last. One is the City Hall panel, the call for artists on the artists out the artwork out on the building elevation. So that RFP went live yesterday, and we're about 30 days behind of, I think, when we told you we were going to do it. And so we are trying a new process. We've hired, you might remember, we hired the Arts Partnership for technical support, and we're using the Arts Partnership to help us run this process. So much like we use Reach Partners for the public art program, we're going to use Arts Partnerships leadership and project management guidance on the RFP for curating the City Hall art panels. We talked with, so back in the history of this, I think 2018, we worked very closely with the City Commission at the time and Mayor Mahoney, because we've had some failed attempts at public art opportunities on city buildings, and we did not want to go through that failed attempt again. And so one of the techniques, if you will, was especially with the glamour of City Hall and it being new and the unveiling and all of that, we're using the mayor's role as a bit of that selection process, at that final selection process. And so there's still a selection committee, there's still a narrowing down, if you will, and the uniqueness of the City Hall art panels is that you'll see in the RFP is an artist could submit a concept that would go on each elevation. Like today, Katie Miller's work, is by the same artist. It could have been, Katie Miller on one piece, a different artist on another facade, and so there was a kind of a curating aspect to this as well. And that's where last time in 2018, Brittany, some of you might have known Brittany Murphy, Brittany with us, who worked with us, Murkowski worked with us, and she was an arts curator and arts trained in arts management. And so she really led that process, and we're already seeing the benefit of using Tanya Blanich and helping us with the Arts Partnership and kind of helping us in that curating and coordinating and communicating process. So we did a bit of a rinse and repeat, worked with the mayor and Greg's office of still using that past, present, and future theme. We think that's going to be a nice theme that sticks with this as a concept. Last year, or a few years ago, and I can send you an example of it, what we got last time and the range of choices were really quite fantastic. And so really hopeful again on the range of choice options, and same pay as last time. So we budgeted $24,000 in total that would go to artist fees. And the closing would be June 20th at 4 p.m. for that, and then Tanya would run the selection committee process from there. And our goal would be to, I'll bring this up as an announcement towards the end, is to see about a special call Arts and Culture Commission meeting to do that final selection review process, if you will, to validate that content, if you will. And our timeline is we're trying to juggle is the temperatures outside with the wrapping and then the landscaping and the heavy equipment. So it's really, that's why we're about 30 days too late. So we're trying to work, and coincidentally, this is the exact same timing that when I look at the past documents in 2018, is literally right around the same time. And so we expect the wrapping to be able to be completed by the end of July would be the goal. So the RFP is in your packet as reference. It did go live today. The Arts Partnership has got their outreach system. We've got our outreach system that's like hundreds of mailings. So if you're on both mailing lists, I apologize in advance. That's a little bit of by design so that you get kind of bombarded with the announcement, I guess. And then also in your, maybe I didn't include this, but we do also have a communication plan where you'll see this on social media. Some press releases come out and then kind of keep it out in the public verbal. So just a little bit of the submittal process. We try to make it as easy as possible. Really, you just have to do a small narrative, your information, and then a little bit of your options on if you want to look at it as a full or as a one elevation. Just some ideas on themes to give people grounded. We're of course available for questions. And the eligibility criteria is that you have to be an adult and work or be a student within the Fargo area. We accept applications from emerging artists and students and professionals, all of the above. I'll make a note, one of the close contenders last time was actually a student, and so to me that was also surprising to get as an application. But basically, some images and a brief description of who you are is really all that need, and the images don't have to be in highest. It could be a concept of an image with examples of your work. So I think, if I remember correctly, Katie Miller's were something to that degree. And, just email submittals, or you can drop them off. So pretty straightforward, and, be glad to ask any questions or explain in further detail. I know I'm sure this might feel like, oh, I didn't know you were already going to be doing this so fast, and or just trying to catch up a bit with some of the project management and the timelines. And since the mayor and the city administration staff, we didn't see any error with what we've done in the years past and found it successful was the goal moving forward there.
Nicole, is the intent that these would rotate artists every 4 years? Is that the timeline?
Yeah, it's interesting. Greg and I were talking about that. It was 3 to 5 years. I was using the 5-year mark in my mind, and Greg was using the 3-year mark in his mind. And so he got it budgeted out of city administration, which is great. And so we're just going to go with that.
Fantastic. Other questions, guys, or comments?
Yeah, so, no real action needed tonight. Wanted to, of course, make sure you're fully aware and informed, and be glad to answer any questions. If you do see any, major issues, please reach out to us, because we can always do an addendum to the RFP process or any clarity in that way that's needed. And I do believe Tanya did a nice job of cleaning up the original document for clarity. Always great to get a new set of eyes on that. So we do feel the RFP's a bit tighter and better than last time.
Awesome.
So, if there's no questions on that, the future projects, first of all, in your staff report, you'll see we have our a new art exhibit that was just installed by Artworks, and we had a lot of positive remarks on Emily Brooks's work, and we're excited that John Paulson's work is being installed. It's also Mental Health Month, and John Paulson, as an artist, has intentionality behind that. And so also in City Hall, just across the hall from that in City Hall, Dr. Hogan will be doing a diversity, equity, and inclusion display and exhibit. I think it's the same exhibit that was at the YWCA and Clay County previous on housing and racism and commentary on that. So we'll have more updates on that as that comes forward. We also just hired our kind of first ever facilities director, and she just started about a month ago. Eventually, the Artworks program will get transferred to her as kind of to help manage that flow, to make sure everybody's aware of the specialness of that. And then we've got our eyes staked on the next series of projects. So the city bus wraps and the large capital improvement project, that's what CIP stands for, is capital improvement project, and the Second Street Pedestrian Bridge. And I can highlight all of those in a bit and be curious on your feedback on those. So the city bus wraps, there's a planner over at Transit that we had intended to work with. The way the bus wraps system works is they sell advertising, and there's a certain size and everything, and an office sign company or various vendors. And so we would develop an RFP that would be similar in nature, maybe to the bus wraps, or the city hall, but maybe even looser. Probably reach out to the Arts Partnership for their technical expertise or guidance, and we can send you a draft of that in advance and issue something that would be kind of similar in nature. Does anybody have any concerns or thoughts on that aspect? I've had a little bit of talk with Transit. They're really excited about it, and we don't know much more detail on what their constraints will be. I think the wraps can be on for quite some time. I don't know if we've got any messaging constraints or anything like that. I think it's pretty open. They don't have any real concerns, just your normal public art concerns in terms of content. But otherwise, I don't think there's any themes or anything like that we would need to, guard against.
Okay. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it'll be different seeing a bus drive by with it. Any other comments or thoughts?
I think it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be really fun to see art rolling around.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
And I'm not good at quoting numbers off the top of my head, but I think when I was talking to the transit planner, I think the value was about maybe 7,000, or so. And so I'll double check that. But, so it'll be pretty, they're really excited about it. And to me, that's the most exciting part, is to have other staff members excited and have fun with it. And there's all sorts of things they could do with that. So a long story, one of our very first public art calls, there was a person that submitted this concept that was awarded, but that project fell flat for a number of reasons. And so we're excited that this actually can kind of close that loop as well.
That's fantastic. And just the amount of reach that one bus can have,
Yeah.
right? And how many buses?
I think we've got funding to do a few, and I think there's some. Yeah, I'll get you more details, and we'll start to lay out what that looks like, and bring it to each of your committees as for commentary or feedback.
Sure.
And then the capital improvement project request, if you remember, Commissioner Strand was able to get a set aside as part of our ARPA funds, American Relief Plan funds, that can be used for a capital improvement project. I believe I explained this last time, but just to double check, we had intended to, we're intending to kind of refresh the RFP that there's a committee that included performing arts, the Plains Art Museum, and I think Deb and Tracy sat on, if I'm not mistaken, and got an RFP just about fully drafted. And then we were literally about to go live, and it was March 2020, and so we didn't. And so there's a bit of there's one cautionary tale with that RFP. One of the other reasons I didn't want to go live is I had reached out to Jack Becker with Forecast Public Art from some technical advice, and I got quite a bit of technical advice that made me unsure of our steps moving forward. Meanwhile, we worked on the water tower project, learned a lot from the water tower project, and would not like to repeat that process again. And so what I'm finding as staff, we just don't have the capacity to manage a public art project to that scale when it comes to construction management, all sorts of technical details, and to make sure the artist is really taken care of, as well as the community. And so there's people who are experts in this. The one that I know that that I know that's the closest to us that I've heard from, I'm sure there's others, is Forecast Public Art. And Jen Crava and Teresa Sweetland from their group. I know there's others. But what I'd like to do is consult with them to kind of pick up where we left off, get their advice, and I'll reach back out to you via email to see, if we can refresh, a committee to kind of take a look at that and hope to go live with this RFP. I don't want it to take a long time and go live with this RFP within 60 days or so. So that would be kind of my next plan of methods. So just as a refresher on that RFP, there was 2 stages. There was like a big call, and it was, so we're talking about a construction project just for reference of, about $100,000 to $200,000 range. So it's in my mind a big installation, and so as part of that nature, you can imagine folks that work in that realm. Not just thinking of ideas to submit. There's a lot of context and evaluation, and so having kind of a 2-phased approach. And the first phase is basically touring Fargo, thinking about sites, thinking about options, meeting with people, and then there's a second phase of we'll then go develop that idea, and there's a small stipend as part of that, and then there's a kind of an award as part of that. So I'll send that RFP out for context, and we can talk next steps from there if there's any questions or thoughts or discussion.
Well, if my memory serves me correctly, there were some potential community partners with that as well. Is that still something that we'd be considering doing?
That was the other reason we didn't go forward. That particular community partner, that was not what they had in mind. So at some point, the selection committee, we deviated from what our community partners was. And I don't want to name the partners, but their mission has changed as well. And that was Excel Energy and the Commissioner of Visitors Bureau. And not to say they wouldn't, it's been 2 years, so there's different people at the head. But I think some level of community support would certainly be appreciated.
Other questions or thoughts?
And then lastly, in terms of public infrastructure project, the city engineering office has kicked off a bridge. We're calling it the Pedestrian Bridge. It links from the front doors of City Hall over the flood wall and lands in the wet space on the west side of the wall. And so there is a public stakeholder input process. I believe Tracy's name was moved forward. I'm not sure exactly. The consultants were reaching out to bring some stakeholder folks together, whether it's arts and culture commissioners, folks in the downtown, different stakeholders. And we wanted to make sure the Arts and Culture Commission was pulled into some steering committee meetings. But there's also going to be, kind of some light touch and focus group meetings, but then there's going to be greater at-large open houses as well. Mm-hmm. And so we'll be sure to inform you on those processes as well. I apologize if you haven't been contacted yet, Tracy. And so maybe with that opportunity, because those meetings haven't started, if maybe just to clear the air there, not to put Tracy on the spot, but if someone would like to volunteer to be on that little focus group, I believe their first meeting, and I'm not sure if it's one and done or if there's one and several more meetings, but they're looking at May 26th, so that'd be next Thursday, I think. So.
Well, I'm available. So
Okay.
If they want to reach out, I'll do my best to get there.
I'll pass.
I live close, so.
Yeah, I'll pass your name on to our consultants.
Okay, very good.
I apologize about that.
No problem. I get it.
And then maybe along those lines, I better double check there too. If the Arts and Culture Commission's okay with, I think Brad Bachmar's name was passed forward to Tanya Blanich to work on to to be on the selection committee for the panels outside. We were trying to think of artists. I think Tanya was thinking of artists who might not have want to contribute,
Sure.
but be also on the panel. And then, so we thought of Brad with his experience and representing, felt it important to be an artist. So that was, I think, Tanya's suggestion, if the commission's okay with that. And I know it sounds like I'm talking a lot and I'm just asking for you to agree with me on everything, but feel free to vocalize any discussion or concerns or comments. It's certainly hopefully for dialogue.
Does anyone have any concerns with Brad being on that? I think, in my mind, that makes perfect sense. I think he would represent
And maybe
well.
if you want to email me privately, that's fine too. If I'm not sure if Brad's been contacted, so if he is, if he's busy, if there's a person that would like to be aware of that.
Just nominated him, does he?
I'll let Brad know of his nomination, and then.
He'll be at every meeting from here on out.
But we may be looking for
He'll come to
others
the
if
next meeting.
Brad's
Yeah.
unavailable. So.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions or
I think that concludes my report. So,
you guys have been busy?
yeah. I do have one announcement, sorry.
Yep.
Our July meeting looks like it's going to have to move to a different location or a different date. And I did push back on this and I lost the discussion. There's a greater need for some safety training that this basically City Hall will be used for. And they asked if the Arts and Culture Commission wants to be part of the safety training. That would be full on. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea right now. And so,
Disaster training?
yeah, it'd be like you would pretend to experience something that maybe isn't real. And so, I would not suggest that personally. But if that is something you want to do, we could pretend to have a meeting and then something happens. Or if we want to do true business on a different day, that would be so I'll send out a survey
Sounds good.
to see when that meeting could be. So
I think I can speak for everybody to say, let's not do the training during the meeting. All nods? Yeah.
I so moved.
I think that passed.
yeah,
All right. Any other announcements?
that's the only one I had.
Anybody else?
Yes, Theater B opens Mr. Burns, a post-electric play tomorrow.
Yay!
We have 2 full weekends of performances, and it's an incredible play about us, our community, and what we're going through in the wake of a cataclysm that gives art the chance to rebuild the community. I would highly recommend it. I had the privilege of assistant direct that production, so I'm a little biased, but definitely look for the information on our website, theaterb.org.
That's fantastic. How exciting. Any other announcements? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Or Joe, were you going to say?
I did,
Okay.
yes. The Plains Art Museum, next month, we're hosting the 3rd annual Northern Plains Summer Art Institute. We bring in high school students from across the region and country, actually. We have a student from the West Coast coming in. It's a 2-week intensive program. It's taught by Native American art instructors. Most of them are college professors. And there will be a public reception on Friday, June 24th at the Plains Art Museum. It's open to the public. It's an art exhibition of the student and the staff work. So I invite the commission and the public to come there on 11 a.m. Friday, June 24th. So.
Fantastic. Anyone else? Okay, now can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Take a little longer next time, Denise. Motion approved. Oh, everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same side. All right, we're good.